We watch Hello Okanagan from Coldstream.
Hello everyone, guess what? It's almost the holidays, or it is, depending when you're watching this. We have a Christmas idea for you. Tell them what it is.
Well, we just got these brand new hoodies and sweatshirts, and you can have yours too. Just go and click the link below, hellookanagan.com.
We're not talented, but guess who is?
Our next guest is Andrew Allen, so stay tuned. But before we get into it, make sure you guys please leave a like. It definitely helps us out so that we can produce more and more episodes for you guys. And if you're not subscribed already, make sure you do that also.
Thank you. Hello, Okanagan, and welcome to our makeshift studio. I feel like we're on a news anchor show or something.
Yes, we are. Breaking news. Today we're here with our man, Andrew Allen. Thanks for joining us today.
Guys, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Very cool. In the comfort of your own home, and like Peter said, we're in the comfort of our studio. So why don't we just jump into it? How have you been? Like, how has things been for you with all this?
Yeah, it's been something. I was definitely one of the lucky ones, I feel, in the sense that as soon as they opened the opportunity to perform for 50 people or less, that was kind of a bit of my wheelhouse anyways, where I could do outdoor house concerts, those kind of things, and people stayed apart from each other until they drank. And then, but it gave me really great opportunities to at least be able to perform my music for them and kind of keep distance and make sure that things stayed safe. So it wasn't the worst summer that I've ever had, but it's definitely, it is what it is.
No doubt, yeah. And actually, I do remember I came out to BX Press that one evening when you were playing, and we did an episode there already. But that was a really fun night, and it was really good to see you, and obviously really good to see their setup and everything. It brought a little bit of hope during those summer months there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, those were fun shows. I remember the first one that Taylor and I played together, and halfway through the first chorus of the first song, we both looked at each other and were like, "Oh my gosh, we're playing!" And we got all verklempt. So it was a very, it was a good thing to be able to do.
No doubt, man.
Well, let's get into a little history of Andrew Allen. What was the spark that ignited your love of music and not just the music itself of listening to it, but getting into the songwriting side?
What's funny is I can't put my finger on exactly what it was, but I know that my parents put me into piano lessons when I was younger, like 5, and I remember not loving the practicing side of it, but loved learning the language of music and then using that language to create my own voice. And very, very early on, I was writing my own things and coming up with my own ideas, and they are both educators, so they were like, "You've got to get the fundamentals down before you start writing." And I was like, I understand that, but I totally didn't understand that. And I just kept going. It was just always something that just came out of me. So it was, even from when I was 5 years old.
Natural, God-given talent. Now, and you're not originally from the Okanagan, or are you?
Well, I was born in Victoria, spent the first handful of years in Quesnel, so a little northern BC, and then showed up to Vernon around grade 3. And then I've kind of been here ever since.
Very cool. With a little spell in Vancouver there right after a few songs popped, right?
That's right. Went to Vancouver for a little while and then moved to LA for about 3 years and then just did a whole bunch of traveling where I didn't really know where home was, and then finally made it back to Vernon, which is where I love being. So it's great being here.
Cool. And what do you love most about the Okanagan and being a musician in this area?
I think it's the ability to have so much space and freedom and support, and it's just so beautiful. Like, the landscape is so beautiful.
So I wanted to ask, why guitar? How did you get into picking up a guitar? Was that your first instrument?
No. So I started with piano and loved piano. Started learning how to play Disney songs when I was 12 years old so that everybody would sing along. But then something shifted kind of in me. I started playing saxophone when I was in high school, and then I saw other people playing guitar, and I was like, that looks like a really cool instrument. So I remember asking my folks if I could get a guitar, and they're like, can we just focus on one instrument at a time? And I was like, yeah, you bet. And then I saved up enough money and went out and bought an electric guitar with an amp that only had distortion, and they're like, oh, geez. That was kind of the beginning. I learned Glycerin by Bush X from my neighbor and I just went for it. It was so funny.
I was just going to say, so you were mentioning Bush X, though. Which artists kind of inspired you? Who were the first guys that kind of captured your attention?
So my buddy who lived just down the road, he made me like a mixtape with Weezer and Green Day on it, and I remember thinking like, these are the coolest bands in the universe. So they were kind of like my upbringing as far as when I finally started choosing the music I wanted to listen to. But it was such a wide spectrum. I remember that was the day when like, you know, Columbia House Records and BMG Records existed, so you could get like 100 CDs for $4. And so I would just get like every soundtrack I could and just learn as many of the songs as I could. And it was just this really wide spectrum of what music could sound like.
No, very cool, man. One of my favorite things, obviously, I've had you on a different podcast before, but I do love hearing some of your cool stories about. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the days with the van and like, you know, a few of the earlier moments of your career.
Man, it was a trip. It was like, I always felt, and I still kind of feel this way, that the harder you work, the better chance that you will just outwork somebody else that wants to give up. I think that success is just, at the end of the road, it's just whoever gets off the road first doesn't reach it. And so I took that literally, and I literally sold everything and bought a minivan and started touring around all over Canada, went to the UK, not with that van, obviously, and then came back to Canada, and I think I was on the road, like the first couple years, I was on the road like 220 dates out of the year. So it was just this crazy, like, back and forth, and just kind of, you know, finding food where it was and living, you know, staying at people's houses when they'd let us, and it was awesome.
That's awesome. And that actually gets into, you mentioned it already, but that gets into another one of my favorite stories is, tell us a little bit about Loving You Tonight and how it became, obviously, your greatest hit so far.
Yeah, so I had written a song called Not Loving You. I tend to write a lot about love. And I had used that song, put it out to radio. It didn't really do that much, but it caught some attention. And I played a gig in Toronto that brought out a major label guy from EMI, and he came out and watched the show. And he kind of gave me the whole spiel, like, get in line, buddy. Everybody wants to be famous. And then he went home, and then the next day he called me. He goes, I woke up happy, and I'm not happy. I'm not a happy person, so something about your music made me happy. So I was like, cool. So he said, I'm going to send you to Nashville and see what it looks like if you write with some other people. So
someone a long time ago told me, a celebrity, I'll go nameless, told me that it's when they first got their first deal, and then for the second album, it was much harder. Because they basically said, I had 20 years of lifetime experiences for my first album. Now these a-holes expected within 6 months to pop another album out.
Absolutely. There's also a weird thing, like when you have a single that does really, really well, you put that as your benchmark, but you wrote that from a genuine and authentic place most of the time. And so then now you have this idea of like, I've got to write this thing that is as good or better than this thing I already put out. So you're comparing this rough new thing to something that's already established. And I find that's really like, that is a bit of a head trip.
Now, how has your look and outlook changed on music? I mean, even over the past decade, and with things like Spotify and SoundCloud emerging, and how you used to look at it maybe when you were in LA and Vancouver, and how you are now looking at what you're doing now in your future projects. Like, how has that shifted and why?
It's interesting because like I don't want to be like the old like melancholic musician, but definitely like with Spotify, I love it as a listener, as a consumer, because I'm like, oh, there's so much stuff out there. But the things that I don't like about it are that they don't pay properly to artists. They've created a model where shorter is better. So people are now writing like 2-minute songs and putting them out so that they get repeated so that they make more money off them. Also, people are aspiring to write something that's like a hit first listen instead of like, for me growing up, it's like when I would listen to an album, it would be the deep cuts. It would be the things that I was like, oh. Now I've listened to the album so many times. Like I listen to I'll put on a Spotify playlist. Maybe it's like Love Radio, or I'll put on like Julia Michaels. And it's unbelievable how you can listen to like 2 hours worth of music, and it could be all female singers, and every single one of them sounds the same. And you're like, I don't understand. I don't even know who that band is. And so there was a really cool thing back in the day where it was like, you knew that artist and you knew their catalog if you were a fan, and you knew their album. And I suppose the fear that I have moving forward in the music industry is that because there's like 20,000 songs a day uploaded to Spotify, that we're going to lose some of those deep, meaningful, powerful songs that writers have created with artists, because they're just not, you're not going to make the money off them on Spotify, and unfortunately it's still quite a money-driven industry, like most industries. And so that would be my only fear. But I do love, like, as a consumer, I love being able to, like, absorb all this new material. And in some respects, because people aren't paying the money to go to radio as much, they might spend a little bit of money to go to Spotify. So there is a chance that you'll get some of those album cuts that weren't even intended to be album cuts, because there's an opportunity to release them now.
Well, let's take a break right now and jump into an Okanagan update
with Elizabeth Flowers.
Hello Okanagan, I'm Elizabeth Flowers, and here's your Okanagan update. BC Transit's annual Stuff a Bus event is back in support of the Central Okanagan Food Bank. The Stuff a Bus event is going to take place this weekend, December 5th and 6th, at the West Kelowna Superstore and the Kelowna Superstore from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. The 20th annual Tiny Tim Toy Collection is going on right now in support of Salvation Army's Christmas campaign. Drop off your new unwrapped toys and cash donations at the Coast Capri Hotel on Harvey Avenue. Take a family photo in front of their big tree and enter a draw for a one-night stay and a $50 dining credit at the Coast Capri Hotel. And with Christmas just around the corner, there's still plenty of opportunities to hit up a Christmas market. They predominantly take place on Sundays, and the best place to find an up-to-date listing of the one nearest you is on Castanet's event page. That's all for this week's Okanagan Update. Now we'll take it back to the guys.
Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Hopefully you've subscribed by now, and also please leave a like on this video. It really helps us out with ratings so that we can obviously give you more episodes and more amazing content.
Did you tell them to subscribe?
Oh, you can do that right now, Peter.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe. It also helps us out, guys. Thank you. If any, is there one that's more important, the song or the artist, the person singing it? What's more important in that kind of relationship there?
I mean, as a writer, it's funny because I'll write songs that mean something really deeply to me. And if there was an artist that was bigger than me that wanted to cut it and release it, I would absolutely say yes, almost 90% of the time, because I feel like I want that song to be heard by the most amount of people because I believe in the song more than I believe in myself being able to put it out, or the need for me to be the one that has the spotlight.
This episode is going to be coming out in early December. For our viewers, we don't film the same day the show comes out. You normally do a massive an epic Christmas event in Vernon at the Performing Arts Center.
Oh, I don't remember the year that it started. I just remember like setting up kind of a Christmas show and being like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then chatting with a teacher over at Kidston Elementary, Melissa Jacobs, and she suggested, hey, wondering if you'd want my kids to join you at all. And I was like, oh, that's actually a great idea. Like, it'd be really fun to have like the fun, youthful Christmas energy. And so I started doing that with her that very first year, and then it just kind of grew into like her having like 100 students involved, and then Okanagan Landing joined in, and I think there was a moment where we had like 140 people on the stage. It was insane.
One last question here before we get to some songs. We're doing Okanagan's Got Talent here. There's over 145 artists that started this project. It took 6 months of doing the show every week. We got to the semifinals, and then COVID hit right before the finale. January 16th is the finale. So we're getting to do that at Creekside Theater in Lake Country, and then we're going to simulcast it. A lot of those people know who you are because I do bring you up often when I'm on stage, especially being, somebody that lives here and can still make it from the Okanagan, especially with half the stuff that you were asking, technology, which really helps. What would be the one or two best pieces of advice that you can offer a young artist that's coming up in the industry that's from the Okanagan?
Oh, wow. I would say, don't focus on the end goal. Focus on the opportunity you have to create and the craft that it takes to get there. And if you focus on that and you enjoy creating music and you enjoy creating an experience for somebody, then you'll always be successful in whatever space that looks like. Whereas if you're focused on the end game of I just want to be famous, it's like, that's fully empty. Just don't put that as the focus. If it happens, great. But even if it happens, it's like when you kick a soccer ball and then you're like, yeah, that was a good kick. And then they score on you because you're not paying attention. It's like, focus on the craft and the task at hand, and then celebrate when it's time. That would be like my biggest. And you know what the other one would be? And this is only from being in the industry for so long, is that there are people that I'm working with now that 10 years ago I met them and it didn't make any sense for me to work with them at that point, but I was always kind to them and they were always kind to me. And 10 years later, now I'm all of a sudden in a capacity where I'm working with some of these people, and like, thankfully I never burnt any bridges and they didn't burn any bridges, and we still have the opportunity to work together. And so I think just be kind and get out there and like pursue your craft and be willing to collaborate and listen to other people's criticisms and just take them with a grain of salt and move forward.
The one cool thing about the music industry is in sports, there's one winner per year. In music, there can be a different number one single every week. So why does, that's the part that I hate as well. Why do you have to hate somebody or beat someone else up or just try to outdo someone else? I mean, we should all be playing in the same sandbox as far as I'm concerned and help each other out.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I definitely want to leave with, our fans want to hear a song. We want to hear you perform a song. We'd really appreciate that. And we'll let you pick whatever you want to play out. And again, I want to thank you for taking some time and being on Hello Okanagan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew.
In the spirit of Christmas, here's my tune, I Want to Be Your Christmas.
Well, it's cold outside and the lights are low. Everything about me is covered in the deep snow, yeah. But I'm thinking about you, where the gifts are laid beneath that tree. And I'm wondering to myself if you're thinking about me. Are you thinking about me? 'Cause it's not like I just wanna be the guy that you're waiting to see when every festivity is over. I wanna be the 12 days wrapped in one. I wanna be your drummer boy, bum, 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 bum. I wanna be the eggnog in your rum. I wanna be the North Star that you see. I wanna be the partridge in your tree. I wanna know your Christmas just ain't Christmas without me. Oh, those city sidewalks and that holiday style ain't got nothing on me and my holiday smile, yeah. Don't you like my smile? Well, the table looks nice and the gravy looks hot, but I counted all the chairs and you're still missing one spot. I hope it's not my spot. It's not like I just wanna be the guy that you're waiting to see when every festivity is over. I wanna be the 12 days wrapped in one. I wanna be your drummer boy, bum, 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 bum. I wanna be the eggnog in your rum. I wanna be the North Star that you see. I wanna be the partridge in your tree. I wanna know your Christmas just ain't Christmas without me. The lights are dimmer and they've lost their glow. You and me should have been making angels in the snow. It's not like every Christmas you can say that you are mine. And if you pass this up, if you mess this up, might not be your Valentine. Might not be your Valentine. Wanna be the 12 days wrapped in one. I wanna be your drummer boy, bum, 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 bum. I wanna be the eggnog in your rum. I wanna be the North Star that you see. I wanna be the partridge in your tree. I wanna know your Christmas just ain't Christmas. Your Christmas just ain't Christmas. Your Christmas just ain't Christmas without me. Without me. Without me.
Thank you for watching this episode with Andrew Allen on Zoom. If you enjoyed this one, please leave a comment. We want to hear from you.
And please, subscribe. It's not that hard. Click subscribe. YouTube channel, Hello Okanagan.